Hello everybody, my name is Joey. Welcome to my channel. Today I am playing with some antique mother of pearl buttons that I bought when I was in my 20s, maybe late teens. I actually don't remember, maybe around 35, 40 years ago. And I won the bid at an auction for this huge box of buttons. And so these are nearing 200 years old because they were antiques back then when I bought them. It was at an estate auction, and an elderly lady who loved antiques and antique buttons had collected them her whole life. And so I have washed these, like done a vinegar wash in these. And this is only the tip of the iceberg of what I won the bid on. And all these years later, I bought them to I was making brooches back then and doing a lot of silk ribbon embroidery. So all these years later, I'm still doing projects from that huge box of buttons, and I've sold some and I've given some away. I've tried to share my wealth, but and it has to be said, I'm going to show you the earrings that I did with two of the buttons. There are a lot of matching ones in my box, and I just have to say this, you guys, cute as a button. Okay, I had to say it. There. So I just did a little bit of wire working on these and did my all-in-one where my wire becomes the ear wire. And you can get really creative about what you do in the center. And this is the back. So I just did a spiral with an opening in it. And I was looking at it. It was really pretty just plain. I'll put my thumb over it. It was really pretty just plain. But then I said, oh, there's a little opening. And so I took a spiky flower head pin and just did a stack of seed beads that matches what I did in the middle. So they have a little dangle and they just feature this wonderful, almost 200-year-old button. I actually had so much fun doing them. So I'm going to do two more with you. I'm going to do this pair to show you exactly what the wire working looks like on this. And then I'm going to do kind of an articulated downward drop with these. And I've just taken some ball head pins and made a little stack of beads here. I'm going to do this one in copper. And before I get going, I'm just going to show you guys something like any buttons could be used for this. As you see, 4-hole works, 2-hole. And I'm going to get really creative with what I put in the middle of this one. I have this Brazilian waxed cord that's flat and it frays really nice in this super bright pink. But recently, and this will be for my American friends, we have a national chain, a craft store called Michael's, and they're doing their end of the season clearance. And I am a clearance shopper for my jewelry. So I was digging through the clearance items, and I don't only stick to jewelry. I think these are scrapbooking buttons. They're acrylic, but they had a $2 clearance sign on them. So I took my favorite color of the availability and went up to the register, and they rang up at 48 cents. So I ran back and got all the other colors. So you could really use these plastic buttons or acrylic buttons. They don't have to be antiques. They don't have to be glass or mother of pearl. I always like to remind everybody not to forget, because supplies can be expensive. So don't forget to hit clearance areas and open your mind to what you might be able to do with your treasures, with your finds in your jewelry. So I'm using 20 gauge wire for everything. This is copper. This is my soft flex wire. It has an anti-tarnish coating, and I started out with 2 pieces. It was for doing earrings. If you cut your pieces the same length, you stand a pretty good chance of like getting your spirals to be the same, getting things more easily to look the same in earrings. So what I'm going to do is start by smoothing and warming my wire. And so on this pair, I strung one of these watermelon seed beads, then a gold, then a watermelon, and put my wire back through. But on this set, I'm going to put one seed bead, just 2 seed beads, because when this goes in the middle of the button, I want to separate them since I have 4 holes and come in and tie a little textile element on these. So I'm just going to let my seed beads drop down to the middle, and my advice is to go slowly with your wire, keep it warm and smooth so you don't kink it. And I just find that when I work slowly with wire and keep it warm, whoops, I'm almost dropping it, keep it warm in between my fingers, it just performs better for me, and it kind of goes where I want it. So I'm going to get my wire through the two holes that are opposite each other and kind of in the middle, and just pull it down like that. And now I'm going to come to the back and just pull one wire straight up. I'm working on this diagonal, and pull this wire straight down. So it looks like that. And now you see I have a little space between my seed beads. And get your nylon jaw pliers. I'm going to use these. I have a few pairs of nylon jaw pliers. And just make sure that everything's really straight for making the all-in-one ear wire, where your stack or your beads or your button also becomes the ear wire. It's really important that everything be straight and that you know where your front of your piece is and keep it front. Like I say, just take your time and really smooth the wire and get it nice and warm. And like, I think because it's earrings, you stand a better chance of getting everything identical if you do your steps at the same time. So I'm going to repeat the same thing for the other earring. Get them to the same point. Now you can match them up and see if you pulled your wire in the same place through the buttons, and I did. And so I'm going to choose one side here, and that would be a really, really huge spiral. So I'm going to choose one side here and cut so that I have a little shorter spiral right about there. And I can make components out of this, so that's not going to waste. And so I'll do my ear wire out of this longer section. And I like to mirror my earrings, so I'm going to do this, my spirals in the opposite direction. I'm just going to come underneath here. And on this one, I'm going to start spiraling toward the right. And on this one, I'm not going to do a dangle like I did on here. You could, but I decided to do this one with some interest in the middle of the button rather than hanging down. And then I'm just going to get a hold of that and just spiral toward my button in small increments, just pushing against my finger, thumb or finger, whatever works for you. I always say everybody gets their own rhythm when they're working with wire. But I just advise to go slowly because fast movements with wire can put kinks or unwanted bends in it. And I just find that my projects turn out better when I'm more slow and more relaxed. So I'm just going to spiral right up to the button, and then I'm going to come right here at the base and just bend it so that it's centered. So it looks like that. And on this one, I'm going to do the same thing, but this one I'm going to start spiraling toward the left. And it's not wrong if you want to do your earrings exactly the same. I hear people say it both ways, that they love to mirror, and it looks wrong if they're not mirrored for earrings. And then I've heard other people say they don't like the way it looks mirrored. It looks wrong to them. So, like it's really your preference. So same thing on this one. I'm just going to spiral toward my button. Okay, and right where my spiral is meeting the bottom of my button, I'm going to do the same thing. This time I'm going to go with my bend toward the right and just pull everything to the center. Okay, and now I'm going to take my little bit of cord here. I'm going to double this, so let me pull off the same amount for my second earring, because sometimes I do my earrings for video purposes. I'll do the sample ahead of time, and I'm never as good at getting the second earring the same as I am when I do them together. And so now I'm going to come from the back of the button on the holes that I didn't use and come up through the up to the front, and I'm just going to tie a little knot and trim these short and fringe this. This flat cord just really does, it unravels beautifully. It makes it like a really nice fringiness. So I'm just going to pull that through. And that's why I only did 2 gold seed beads, because I'm going to lay this down on my mat, but I'm going to tie right here in between the 2 seed beads. I just love adding a little textile element, and you can get so creative with this technique. Like really, you could tie bows in the middle. You could put another button, like stack another button, match up the holes. You can really get creative. Just get my knot really tight. And now I'm just going to trim it and fringe it out. I use my knotting tweezers to make a little fringe, and you could even put seed beads on the cord that's coming out of the middle of the button, and then tie some knots and do some fringiness, you know, and just add like a lot of texture and dimension. Like I said, with this technique, you can really get creative and use what you have. So you see, it doesn't take much of anything to create this. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on my other earring. Okay, I got my fringiness done on both my earrings, and you know, as you wear it and take them on and off, it's going to fray out a little bit more, but I just love adding that pop of color and the little tiny bit of like a textile to the button, the mother of pearl, and the wire and the seed beads. It's just really interesting and sweet. Okay, and from here we're going to turn the wire that's left over into an ear wire, and like I said, it's really important when you do this that everything be really straight and really centered. So I'm going to come right to the top of my button, like straight up from my center, and I'm going to bend this right over the top of the button pretty severely, a little bit more than a 45-degree angle. I'm going to come to this earring and do the exact same thing. Just get everything, make sure everything is nice and straight before I do it. Focus on the center of the button and put that nice sharp angle in there. And then I'm going to use my bail making plier, and you can really do like really tiny ear wires. I have been using this step, this third largest step, and it yields, like, to me, it yields a really nice size ear wire, kind of swooping. So I'm going to turn this and put my earring in so that, again, everything is, this is a little bit crooked. Let me straighten it out. You know, before you move on to the next step, when you're doing anything with wire, it's so much easier to correct things when you know, you haven't done something else to the wire, if that makes sense. Okay, so I've got this nice and straight, and I'm going to be wrapping over the barrel that I've chosen, and so I'm just going to wrap that wire around kind of toward the button like that, and when I take it out, the ear wire is formed. And I'll do this one as well, and then I'll trim them at exactly the same length. So like, really take your time on this part, make sure everything is lined up. And it's done. And since these are exactly the same, what I can do is trim one to the length that I want it, and then use this to measure my other one. And then the last step, well, there's 2 more steps. Take your flat nose plier and line up your end here and kick that out a little bit, and do the same thing on this one. And then either a metal buffing block, like a vintage buffing block will work, or even an emery board, any kind of a little file. But I have my battery operated reamer, and on the end of this I have not a reamer but the wire rounder. It's like a little cup, and you just fit your wire in, press the button, and go around a little bit for a really professional finish. Like there's no sharp edges on the wire at all when you do that. This is always linked under my videos in my favorite tools, because I'm a jewelry toolaholic and I love it, and it's not super expensive and I use it all the time. But I also always have this little set of files and reamers. It's very inexpensive. I always link this as well. And even like this is kind of like a nail file, like an emery, not an emery board, but like a nail file. And even that can take the sharpness off. It just gives you like a really professional finish where you have cut your wire. So it is no longer craft wire. It is a beautiful anti-tarnish ear wire. Look at these, aren't they cute? Oh my goodness. Yeah, I have to say it again, you guys, cute as a button. Look at that, they're so sweet. Okay, let's do the little square buttons. Aren't these amazing? There were a ton of these in the box of buttons, and I have had so much fun over the years. I've done everything under the sun with these guys. So I have a couple of wires here. I've cut two of them. Let's see, two of them are pretty much the same, and one of them is a bit longer because I am going to need to make some jump rings for this pair. So that's going to be for jump rings. And I'm just going to smooth this out a little bit, and you know, like I said, if you start with the same lengths of wire, it makes your earrings come out more identical. And on these, I'm not going to do any seed beads in the middle because they're so small. So I'm just going to get this warm and smooth and not kink it, and just curve it, curve it, curve it, and fit it in the middle. Just push it down. There we go. And same thing, these are going to be on a diagonal. So same thing, I'm going to grab my one wire and pull it right up to the point of the square. Nylon jaw pliers. Try not to kink your wire, but you can't help it sometimes when you have to get it through a hole. And same thing on here, just bend that one down. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other little square button. Okay, I've got them both to the same point. Let me move these beauties out of the way a little bit. And I'm going to trim this to the size spiral that I want. Maybe, yep, right about there. And I'll do the same thing, use this as a measurement. And I'm going to do the same thing, is create a spiral, but this time I do want to make sure that I have an opening to connect other things. Same thing, I'm just going to put a little bend in here and just line it up with that point on my button. And same thing on this side, but in the opposite direction. They look great. And now we're going to make some jump rings. And I'm going to use my other bail making plier, and I'm going to use this this larger mandrel on this. I can't remember the millimeters of these two bails, but this is another tool that's always linked in my favorite tools because I love the ergonomic handle. It fits in my hand perfectly, and I love the long barrel on it for making jump rings because you really don't have to pay attention to which direction you're coiling in because you have so much, you know, length here to just coil away. And now I'm just going to come right where I started with the flush side of my cutter and snip one ring at a time. And so now I'm going to open these jump rings and connect my square button, my other square button, to the spiral. Open it wider. Just wiggle it in there. Whoops. I'm going to actually make another smaller jump ring because can you see that I don't have the space that I need for this to really hang centralized, and it's fine if that would just drive me nuts. So I'm going to open this and just take out this. And I'm going to connect these two with another really small, like a 4mm jump ring. So I'm going to use my smaller bail and just make some more. So I have to put 2 of these little jump rings in order to keep my square button on the bottom facing forward. It's so pretty, and it's so chain-like now with the extra jump rings. I love it. I'm going to do the same thing on this other one. Okay, both my earrings are at the same point. These are so dangly. I love it. And I'm going to now connect my drops that I made to the bottom. And so like I said, your creativity is unlimited with this. Like whatever you decide to do in your connecting is just boundless. You can add in seed beads, cord, you know, just like whatever you have, other buttons. I'm going to try this one without the smaller jump ring and see how it hangs. Oh, it's so pretty, and I love the copper with the purple and the mother of pearl. It's just so pretty. Okay, let's match this one. Look at that. And now we're going to repeat the same exact thing that we did to make the ear wires. So same thing, I'm going to come right here to the top. And the other thing is that I've done a couple of times is to really snuggle the wire up to my button is to use a nylon jaw plier and just snuggle it up there. So I'm going to grab my wire right at the top, the point of my square button, and give it that nice 45-degree bend. Do this one as well. This one's pretty tight up to the button. And come back with my bail making plier, everything lined up, and wrap it around to the back. and measure the other earring so that it's the same, exactly the same steps. Perfect. Oh my goodness, I know so many crafters and jewelry people have big jars of old buttons, all kinds, all colors, all shapes. So I hope you got some inspiration from this and that you'll open up those jars of buttons and make some earrings. This was so fun. I hope everybody is safe and well and having fun on your beading mats, and I will see you all in the next video. Ciao, friends.